But just saying, so what maintenance should you expect? Well, it's an application working with temporary and log files, generating those. These need to be managed, but all of that can be done with scripts. So scripts that typically we provide for companies we work with. You have to administer backups that you take, backups which can be Tableau Server backups, like they're proper to the software, or they can be snapshots of your VM. All of that can be scripted and automated, but that needs to be set up according to the best practices. You need to plan for upgrades and execute those. So, is that going to incur downtime? When are we going to do that? Is that weekend work? Do we have mirror environments where we upgrade one, then switch to the other, etc., etc.? All things you do get to be responsible for. And actually, no, I'll take the question that I was just pushing back. The question was, on-premise costs seem drastically lower. Do you see any notable negatives? Well, that's all this actually. The reason that on-premise, or so Tableau Server as opposed to online, is lower is because you get to do all of this. You get to do the installation, the configuration, the maintenance, the upgrades, and everything, which is all stuff that you don't care about when you have Tableau Online. You just always have the latest and greatest. And yeah, granted, the question is worded as to say that the on-premise costs are drastically lower. They are, but you pay more just to sit back and have your platform always work. I guess that's how that kind of service works, isn't it? Oh, and then actually I get a specification for that question, which is we're actually comparing Tableau Server on-premise compared to hosted on Azure. And so, okay, in that context, the point would be that on-prem seems lower than hosted on Azure. Well, I mean, that really depends on how you factor in all your costs, I think. And without going into this tangent too much, while on-prem may seem cheaper, you're probably also have a cost to your own IT infrastructure or whatever service provider you have for that. So I guess this is a bit of a, again, I keep saying this, but the discussion gets really specific for your specific environment in that case. And I'm happy to discuss that at some point. But in general, just the takeaway for everyone in the webinar would be that, if you opt for Tableau Online, you don't get to do the maintenance. So that's off your hands, but it's slightly more expensive. Whereas when you host it yourself, you'll be responsible for all that. You have to factor in your cloud hosting if that's your option, as opposed to on-prem. But again, on-prem is not free. You pay for the people maintaining your servers, etc. So it's a really big picture you need to take into account.